In a world where empires clashed and lovers' fates intertwined, a pivotal moment in history was on the horizon. On the shimmering waters of the Ionian Sea, two colossal forces prepared for a confrontation that would shape the course of civilization. Naval strategies, political intrigues, and legendary figures like Cleopatra and Mark Antony took center stage. This wasn't just a battle, it was a dramatic turning point in the annals of time. Join us as we unravel the intricate tapestry of power, ambition, and betrayal at the Battle of Actium, where destinies were forever altered. In a time of shifting alliances, the bond between Octavian, Mark Antony, and Marcus Lepidus, known as the Second Triumvirate, was reaffirmed for another 5 years in 37 BC at Tarentum. But cracks began to appear. The heart of the tension? Caesar, believed to be the son of Julius Caesar and the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. Octavian perceived him as a direct threat to his ascendancy. The situation became even more complex when Mark Antony, a key figure in the triumvirate, left his wife, Octavia Minor, who was Octavian's sister. He then journeyed to Egypt, immersing himself in a passionate affair with Cleopatra, thus becoming a father figure to Caesar. To many in Rome, including a significant portion of the Senate, Antony's actions signaled a potential split in the Roman Republic. Octavian had an edge, though. He was bolstered by the legacy of Julius Caesar from 44 BC, which named him as Caesar's sole legitimate heir, granting him both prestige and immense wealth. On the other hand, Antony, having been a top officer in Caesar's army, had the loyalty of many of Caesar's veterans and soldiers. Both had once stood side by side, battling common foes in the aftermath of Caesar's assassination. But as time went on, Antony's actions became more independent, hinting at aspirations of sole leadership in Rome. His move to Alexandria to be with Cleopatra only fueled these suspicions. Many believed he aimed to rule Egypt and its neighboring territories, all while commanding the Roman legions in the east. In a bold move, Antony and Cleopatra declared the young Caesar, at just 13, as king of the kings in 34 BC. This act was seen as a direct challenge to Roman traditions. Rumors swirled. Some said Antony had even offered Caesar a crown. Others whispered that Antony planned to shift the heart of the empire to Alexandria. Octavian, feeling the threat, launched a campaign of words against Antony, painting him as Rome's adversary. He claimed Antony wanted to crown Caesar as the ruler of the Roman Empire, bypassing the Senate. The stage was set for a monumental clash. As the days of the Second Triumvirate dwindled, reaching its end in 33 BC, Antony made a bold move. He informed the Senate he didn't want to continue in his role, hoping they'd see him as their champion against Octavian's growing ambitions. He believed Octavian wouldn't be so willing to step down. The tension between the two powerhouses had been escalating. Antony felt slighted by Octavian's actions, like deposing Lepidus and taking territories without sharing the spoils. Octavian, on the other hand, had a list of grievances against Antony: his unauthorized stay in Egypt, his questionable dealings with the king of Armenia, and most notably, his relationship with Cleopatra and recognizing Caesar as Caesar's legitimate son. By 32 BC, the political landscape shifted dramatically. A significant portion of the Senate and both sitting consuls, Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus and Gaius Sosius, sided with Antony. While Ahenobarbus preferred a low profile, Sosius openly championed Antony's cause. This led both consuls to abandon Rome and join Antony's camp. Antony, after a very public split with Octavia, quickly joined Cleopatra in Ephesus, amassing a formidable fleet, with Cleopatra contributing significantly. From there, he moved his base to Athens, while his ground forces, previously stationed in Armenia, made their way to Asia's coast, readying to embark under the leadership of Publius Canidius Crassus. Meanwhile, Octavian wasn't idle. The year 32 BC saw his general Agrippa seize Methone, a town allied with Antony. But Octavian's masterstroke was in the realm of public relations. He revealed Antony's will, which had fallen into his hands, and spread word of Antony's activities in Samos, painting him as Cleopatra's puppet. The Roman populace was incensed. Riding this wave of public sentiment, Octavian managed to get Antony stripped of his upcoming consulship in 31 BC, but he didn't stop there. The Senate declared war, not directly on Antony, but on Cleopatra. The message, however, was clear: Antony had lost his legal standing in Rome. In the waning moments of 32 BC, Antony made a strategic move. He aimed to preemptively strike Italy and ventured as far as Corcyra. However, he was met by Octavian's naval blockade. With the sea routes guarded, Antony chose to hunker down for the winter in Patrae. His fleet found refuge in the Ambracian Gulf, while his ground forces set up camp near Actium's promontory. To fortify their position, they erected a tower and stationed troops across the narrow strait leading into the Gulf. Octavian, ever the diplomat, extended an olive branch, proposing a conference with Antony. But Antony, perhaps sensing a trap or simply too proud, rebuffed the offer. With diplomacy off the table, both sides braced for the inevitable conflict. The subsequent months were marked by a tense calm. Agrippa, Octavian's trusted general, kept Antony on his toes with a series of raids along the Greek coastline. By August, Octavian's forces made a bold move, landing near Antony's northern camp. But Antony, either cautious or waiting for reinforcements, didn't take the bait. As the days turned colder, Agrippa's relentless assaults and Octavian's cavalry skirmishes forced Antony to abandon his northern position, pulling his forces to the southern side of the strait. It was at this juncture that Cleopatra, ever the strategist, made a pivotal suggestion. She proposed fortifying key towns and retreating the main fleet to Alexandria. Given the significant military support Egypt provided, her council held considerable sway over Antony, and it seemed an agreement was reached to follow her plan. When word of this reached Octavian, he was at a crossroads. Should he let Antony retreat, only to face him later? Or should he force a confrontation now? Agrippa, sensing the moment, persuaded Octavian to choose battle. On the eve of September 1st, Octavian rallied his fleet, steeling them for the imminent clash. The following day, nature seemed to reflect the tension, with rain pouring and the sea churning. As the trumpet's call echoed, signaling the onset of battle, Antony's ships emerged from the straits, forming a formidable line. Octavian, after a moment's pause, made a tactical decision. He commanded his fleet to veer right, attempting to flank Antony's ships. Feeling the pressure and fearing encirclement, Antony gave the order, attack. As dawn broke on September 2nd, the stage was set for a naval showdown outside the Gulf of Actium. Antony's fleet, comprising 250 large galleys, was a sight to behold, their towers brimming with armed soldiers. He boldly navigated them through the straits, seeking the vast expanse of the open sea. In contrast, Octavian's fleet, numbering 400 galleys, lay in wait just beyond the straits. The seasoned Admiral Agrippa took charge of the left wing, Lucius Aruntius commanded the center, and Marcus Lurius held the right. Overseeing the battle from the northern shores was Titus Statilius Taurus, leading Octavian's ground forces. Antony's formation was equally formidable. The right wing was under the leadership of Antony himself and Lucius Gellius Poplicola. The center was helmed by Marcus Octavius and Marcus Anstius, while the left wing was under the command of Gaius Sosius. Not to be forgotten, Cleopatra's squadron held a strategic position behind them, ready to provide support. The battle was initiated by Sosius, leading the charge from the left wing, while Antony's trusted lieutenant, Publius Canidius Crassus, marshaled the land forces. Historian Pelling points out an interesting observation. The appointment of two former consuls to lead Antony's wings suggests that the fiercest confrontations were anticipated there. The choice of Octavius and Anstius for the center, both being less prominent figures, further underscores this strategy. As the two colossal fleets prepared for a showdown, Antony's armada boasted around 140 ships, though he initially arrived with a staggering 500. However, he faced a significant challenge: desertion. Both Plutarch and Dio recount tales of desertion and disease ravaging Antony's camp. Despite being outnumbered by Octavian's 260 ships, Antony's fleet had an edge in quality. His ships, primarily quinquiremes and quadriremes, were larger and more heavily armed, making them formidable weapon platforms. But this size came at a cost. They were less agile than Octavian's vessels. Antony's flagship, like those of his admirals, was a massive 10. These ships, armored with bronze and timber, were nearly impervious to traditional ramming attacks. Their primary vulnerability lay in their lack of agility. Once isolated, they were susceptible to boarding. Compounding this weakness was a severe malaria outbreak that had decimated Antony's rowing crews. Octavian's fleet, on the other hand, was primarily composed of nimble Liburnian vessels. These ships, while smaller, could dart in and out, attacking Antony's crew with arrows and ballista-launched stones. Furthermore, Octavian's crews were seasoned, well-trained, and in peak condition. Their ballistas, capable of piercing most ship sides at close range, primarily targeted the marines on the decks. In a twist of fate, just before the battle, Antony's general, Quintus Dellius, defected to Octavian, revealing Antony's battle plans. As the sun reached its zenith, Antony, seeing no other option, moved his line away from the shore's safety, prompting Octavian's fleet to take to the open sea. Antony had hoped to use his largest ships to push back Agrippa's northern wing, but Octavian's fleet, aware of this tactic, maintained their distance. By midday, the two fleets clashed, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. In a surprising move, Cleopatra's fleet, positioned at the rear, retreated without engaging. A favorable wind aided their escape. Lang suggests that Antony might have clinched victory had Cleopatra not retreated. Unaware of Cleopatra's signal, Antony believed all was lost and followed her lead. Panic spread like wildfire among his fleet. As night fell, many ships were set ablaze. Making the best of a dire situation, Antony torched the ships he couldn't man and regrouped the rest. With many of his oarsmen incapacitated, the powerful ramming strategy was no longer viable. Antony, switching to a smaller vessel, managed to break through Octavian's lines with a few escort ships, leaving the rest of his fleet behind. J. M. Carter offers a different perspective. He believes Antony, realizing he was trapped, formed a defensive horseshoe with his ships, hugging the shore. As Octavian's ships approached, the sea would push them ashore. Antony, anticipating defeat, positioned himself and Cleopatra at the rear. In a strategic move, he sent ships from the northern part of his formation to spread out Octavian's fleet. Seizing an opening in Octavian's formation, Antony and Cleopatra made their escape, leaving their forces behind. With the battle's conclusion, Octavian showed mercy, rescuing crews from the burning ships and spending the night on board. The next day, many of Antony's remaining land forces either surrendered or were captured, marking the end of the war. The Battle of Actium not only marked the end of Antony and Cleopatra's reign but also heralded the dawn of the Roman Empire, a transformative period that would shape the course of Western civilization. Its ripples are felt even today, reminding us of the intricate tapestry of history that has been woven over millennia. Thank you for watching this episode of History Uncovered. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the past, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell for notifications, ensuring you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep exploring the stories that have shaped our world.